are good to go. Sweet, sweet. Welcome, everybody, to Streams of Spero, the War of the Garden chapter. There are a few episodes into this new avenue of our oldest running Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign. Two of our members who are part of the original group, well, I'd say original group, but part of the core group, have broken off, and they're trying to fix what they have found out is to be some type of consumption of the Garden of Gaia place in Spero to apparently the Dread Realm. Now the gods is kind of creeping in. Our old gods, the Greek gods, they have not quite liked this intrusion. Hermes has already been known to be murdered by the Raven Queen, and Silk, more or less by the Raven Queen's hand, and that's kind of causing a bit of this war. King Azarian has taken over the old city of Spazo in the Garden of Gaia, and apparently he's taken over the city and called it New Greyheim. And he's got a lot of old resonating passion, it seems like names and things of that he's definitely bringing back into the Garden of Gaia. He's conquered two of the other dynasties around him, which is an impossible feat over the hundreds of years of that Spero has gone through, but already now 3 kingdoms are in his possession, and only a few more remain. Remaining is one of the ones that I kind of originate at a homebrew table is Kylos, which Jacob is now the king of after we had our own off-air adventure. So you won't unable to find that story, but it is referenced quite a bit from my players on that aspect there. It was quite a fun adventure, and why some of the other players are here. So Electo is also one of those characters coming back from that. The group is split up again, each of them trying to do different things within the garden and for Kylos, and sort of on their own. And we'll see if they're able to kind of accomplish some tasks, come back together, and come up with a formulated plan that is going to stop King Azarian. But let's now figure out who our cast is, starting with Jacob.
Jake, I am Killian Hawkins.
The King of Kylos.
As Ben mentioned, yes, the king.
All right, Jen?
I am Jen, and I am playing Captain Cascade Brine, the druid.
And you work into the accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta find that button. Sometimes it slips into something else.
Astounding.
Yep.
No comment.
Art?
I am Art. I am playing Samadlis, former bodyguard and best friend of the king. Jake.
Josh?
So I'm playing Captain. No, really. I'm the Captain, Electo Galantis, Captain of the Heart of the Mermaid and the Friends Left Behind.
Wow,
Hey, upside, I gave up my captain title.
Holy ships.
Yeah.
You need to definitely play a lot longer with my brother. You and the titles would have really enjoyed that. Mark?
So I'm Mark. I'm playing Captain. No, really, I'm Captain of the Artillery and Master of the Defense of the City. So as an Army Captain, clearly more in charge here. An artillerist recently arrived in Kylos and put in charge of the city's defense in the face of Azarian's aggression.
And Carl? Oh, we can't hear you, Carl.
Hit the mute button, Carl.
Sorry, thought I had hit the unmute. And so I am playing Reldanius, the wizard advisor to King Killian, who is one of the few known survivors of a combat.
I don't see Carl on my screen. Is he hooked in right now? Do you see him?
Yeah, I see him.
He's in.
Yeah.
So you might need to do a quick
I can
refresh.
see him.
Yeah, I'll do a quick
I don't
refresh.
see anything from Mark.
Yep.
You guys should both refresh then.
Yeah, if you're not picking up another player, always refresh. Because I usually got everybody. I'll let you know if you're not seeing, because I'm the overall.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, everybody's on YouTube.
There we go.
Okay. So So we're going to start with basically Cascade and Somalias. You have returned from a scouting mission where you were chased off by a bunch of ravens from the other city.
Well, and according to my notes, we went and visited that library or something.
Yeah, we went to basically the.
Oh yeah, you did that.
We learned a lot of stuff, and
Before
Cass had
that.
her oh shit moment.
Yeah, this is that secret Titan comment I threw at you, where you did not reveal to the seer there that you are one of the people that he's suggested that you kill.
I don't think he suggested. He said they have to be killed.
Oh no, yeah, he outright said. I wrote down Titans must be killed.
I'm trying to be a little polite here. Okay, he demanded you die. Okay.
I guess we would take that information back to Killian.
Okay.
Oh, okay, but it's a long list. I'll have to give you an appointment a couple weeks in advance.
All right. So at this time, just to continue to everything, it's Throkal. You've done your defensing up. Electo, you have your two people. There are in the castle with you. Killian, Your Majesty, you have connected with Ra to activate the Sun Sword. That is a relic from the old world of Alanis, where apparently Azarians come from. And you had
I'm shining bright. I'm shining bright, baby.
And you had a little conversation with that, which also had some revelations of that. So, the four of you will come see the king. You'll be in your court, and I'll kind of give you guys a chance to kind of throw on some information, double check your notes, come up with a bit of a game plan. Remember, Ronaldus and Desire have left to broker peace and allianceship with Lockett.
And she wrote a contract.
There's always some catch-22 when I DM. I just don't know why you guys play this, but that's what you guys
You know what? That's the same question we ask ourselves when we log in every time.
I know. I'm just a bad guy, guys. I hear it on a podcast every once in a while, too.
And then again when we log out after.
Hey. I heard that.
So, Your Majesty, what would you like to do? Well, your captains are here.
Captains.
Your captains of captain. The four captains.
You've only got 3 of them in the room.
My first act of business is going to be making everybody else a captain as well.
Nice. You can do that.
So now everybody's a captain.
Everybody's a captain.
I'll let you know later what you're each a captain of. When I figure it out.
So I would let you know Hollowdale has fallen and is now populated by undead. And there is some kind of supernatural ravens that are guarding its skies.
Well, if memory serves, Ben, didn't I get the impression that those were actual real ravens? They had just been magically assisted or pushed or something like that?
Well, that would fit the bill of supernatural. You didn't really...
Okay.
I mean, you're not like... You knew there weren't ghosts, but you definitely knew that the land or something arcane was making them do something that you knew that you couldn't barter out with, like, animal friendship or something like that.
They weren't acting naturally.
Yeah.
That's troubling. That's not good. Anybody else got good news?
Your druid senses have been a little wonky.
Well, the good news is the cast of the High Storm will be more amenable to helping you out with everything. He was unaware of the events going on with the gods, and you'll probably find more help from him in the future rather than resistance.
I think that more help is exactly what we're going to need, so that's good.
Right.
Those are welcome tidings.
Just so you know, the caster of the High Storm is the head of your mages in the city. That was last game.
Okay.
Because Jake's like, what?
Just roll with it. If somebody's gonna help, that's good.
It's all that matters.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know what to do.
Stormforge. What about how goes the fortifications of the city? Preparations.
The advance, we're looking at, we're taking surveys of the efforts it would take to flood the southern fields to limit infantry advance. Commissioned both gates and large caltrips for the sewers to defend our own Underdark. Broadshot loads for the wall cannons in the case of other flyers or these Raven aggressors. And further studies on evacuating the citizenry that are outside the walls and places to shelter them inside and ways to keep people fed and keep nuisance diseases to a minimum while everybody is overcrowded. And that, I believe, brings us up to the present.
Excellent. Good work. Like the sound of the progress. Anybody else have any news they'd like to share? Or?
Ben, am I back yet, or am I still out?
Yeah, you're a part of it.
Oh, okay.
The only one
Right.
not there is Carl.
So I did some investigating in the town itself, specifically trying to go ahead and poke around some of the religious aspects. That story is pretty much exactly as we were led to believe, that religions are being replaced and all sorts of things like that. However, one thing that I did find interesting was that there is a cult called Cult of the Night Garden that seems to have some sort of connection to what's going on in the District of Flowers and Shadows. I would be curious if anybody here knows anything about that, or if there is any information that might help us try to find them. I got that name from a reliable source, but who wasn't able to give me very much information.
Would anybody on my staff know if that cult has shown up in our city at all, or?
It was in this city specifically.
Oh, yeah.
Not your officials. Most of them are your players, so they haven't heard of it.
All right. Do we know what the connection is, or it's just unknown at this point?
So the conversation that I had was with a gentle by the name of Pallas Hefton, who shared information like Cy said about Caster and the headmaster, and the court of the Azure Owl, and he was the one that had mentioned the Cult of the Night Garden, and that was backed up by another source of mine, that the Cult of the Night Owl has the Cult of the Night Garden has something to do with what's going on, but details were sketchy. There's also some information about Azarian, about what might be driving Azarian. He is being driven by grief, it seems, on some level. There was a marriage between Azarian and a daughter, but that daughter was dead. Like there's some strange grief angle to what Azarian is doing. And the churches in New Greyheim, they keep speaking of some new betrayal, and there's a Church of the Raven Queen which has popped up in New Greyheim now. This Silk character seems to be gathering goddess queens of some sort.
And do I know that all the other characters from streams basically got a Alanis download of their history?
Yeah.
That's been mentioned before.
Yeah, I'll talk about it.
So I would look to Cascade and say, what do you know about this from the history? Marriage that never happened, new betrayal. Sounds like they could be tied.
Well, I think I'd have to go think about that.
What does that mean?
I will.
It
as
means
she's looking, I'll help you also. You also know you kind of came out of something with the Raven Queen herself. Like you're sort of tied yourself. You know a bit about the Raven Queen because when you came out of Hades, she had something to do with about a bunch of these resurrections, and you kind of know about them, or maybe even part of, because it was somehow her ship sailed through something. So there's something of the land of the dead that the heroes have a tie to. Then remember when you came out, you killed some being with some type of stone of this goddess Silk. So you're aware of that as Cy. And then you saw them all choose to bring her into existence. So you saw the birthing of a goddess in your realm. That is where that mage told you, if you're putting some of those together, Cy would understand that you put a goddess in the realm. And you know
right, and
Silk and the Raven Queen are tied.
What would my reading of the histories while I was in Hell tell me of the relationship between Azarian and Silk? Art knows.
You know that he found her. Like, you know that there's a multiverse. You know that Hades wanted a power source. You know that Silk is considered the goddess of magic, mostly dark magic. So when he wanted something, he saw her as a power source. And then he used his power of this realm to bind her to his service, which, as one of the big three gods, he can do. Because there's the three sons of Kronos. But, you know, King Killian and his merry band kind of unraveled that. And something started, and that started the chain of events that you seem to have come back at the tail end of. So Cascade would have more information of why that came to being in past, because those players are not with you.
I'm asking what the relationship I would know about would be between Silk and Azarian.
You would know that, because that wasn't Azarian's name was not a name you would ever would have looked up, not knowing.
Okay.
Because when they showed up, I don't really think they left that much of an impression on you, because of, like, it was just like a strike force, which could have been anything, and Maximor didn't really put that type of impression that these people would have been important until now.
So the only thing I would have known is from the history that he was he was a great general, and
you saw him you saw him in action now, which is huge. Not only did you not see, you saw him in action, you saw the other 6. You actually killed one. So, I mean, for that regard. So there's still 5 others that still have some sort of play with that. That's kind of like, this is the difficulty of the ironic part. We were all talking as friends, is the most informed people for this particular mission are not with you.
Yeah.
But that does not mean your group could not, as a collective, understand the need to figure the threats. Now, the advantage that's happening right now is your land is getting enveloped into Alanis. So there seems to be resources about. And that's
an advantage.
Yeah. Things are happening. But you've got to I'm giving you a chance to take breaths to kind of figure those chains out, and then get your characters up to your player knowledge's speed, because I know that's where you guys want to be. So we're trying to slowly get there, and I'm trying to help you out get to those points there. And of course, fans who have been really getting into this, they've only starting to understand what Alanis has been for us for 20 some odd years, and this is the depth where they get to learn those things without having to send them a document and say, hey, read a book, so to speak, and try to figure this out, and get the feeling.
Because it is a book.
Yeah, well, you guys now get to feel that feeling, and why is it important, and and see what those emotional trends are. Because remember, we played Gothic horror. This just wasn't about there's a monster in your closet and he's coming at you. It was a monster with a huge passion for all of us. Like, they had reasons to hate you guys. They did things to make you hate them. That was a lot of what is being played out here. And for us as the scene, I'm just helping you guys get to those points of saying, what was that story? And that's what the people want to hear if they're following along, for sure, for what's going on here. And it's going to lead into the other chapters as we lead into Spero. So, just take a breath, think about it. You have friends here that have also been in Lannis in various forms. They just got to figure out ways of how you are going to tap into that through Kylos of Spero.
All right, so...
And you have a city of allies, so let's also remember, I'm all those NPCs.
Mr. Cy, I don't think I remember anything that is pertinent to this.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any ideas here? Should we treat with him? Should we talk to him?
The impression that I got was that he is not someone to be entreated with. Now, I don't know how good that level of detail is, because I do not feel like I was speaking with somebody who understood the wills of kings, but...
His path of conquest would probably back that up.
No.
Didn't someone say he was looking to be treated like a legitimate ruler? Like,
yeah. I want to add something to you guys' history that's giving you guys an understanding of the dark psychology to this. Remember, these beings were considered dead. They were so long ago when Hades resurrected them to Silk. What you guys are kind of realizing is they were taken from a point in time. So, Azarian could, in fact, be the being that some of it, like Requilin remembered, but certain events happened to get him to that point. He has not had those events happen, but they could possibly be in his psyche. So there is a Achilles heel to this, because you know his future. I mean his history. But you guys got to figure out how do you read such of that or tap into things of that.
So let me make sure that I understand what you're saying, Ben. Hold on one sec. What you're saying is that if you look at Azarian's timeline from day 1 to day whatever, till Azarian was no more, just because he's here now does not mean that he was plucked from the end of his timeline. He could have been plucked from the middle of his timeline before things happened.
Correct.
Oh, shit.
That's my point of the combat that you saw. He was a different being of a different point because he had to be something for Hades.
And that could be the case for any of those 7 that were brought back.
Correct.
Well, we've got 2 of them with us. We can ask them, do they remember dying?
No.
They know that they didn't die. How old do they see themselves as right now?
You have, I believe, just Lace with you, correct?
Oh, that's right. Cascade was not Cascade. Desire was the other one. So yeah, Lace.
Lace doesn't remember. She knows of her story, but she doesn't quite remember like all her deaths, like that death point at all. And like I said, that's why she didn't understand a lot what was going on. She knows about her children, and she knows about serving in Feng's Keep.
Which doesn't mean anything to us, but...
Well, that was the problem. Like the issue with her was, and again, and this is like, you have to go back to the other group and what they chose. Lace was so much pre-Azarian that she doesn't have anything on him.
Right, I know that.
Right. But Requilin does.
Requilin does.
Yeah.
But
Requilin's outside the mist.
Requilin was the one you guys couldn't, like, he's been so elfish that he didn't stick around to kind of chit-chat with anything going on, because everyone didn't quite have an idea of the level of deepness that was happening right now. But that does not mean you guys know that he's one of the guys that's sort of unconnected to an actual quest of the grouping as well. So it's possible that he is checking on you guys. Maybe you need to put a sign on a tree. I don't know. I mean, these are just things that are there are plausible potentials.
All right, so I'm going to try something because Art doesn't know it doesn't work. Art knows it probably won't work, but I can always roll the d20 and try. I can cast Sending. We don't know that it won't get out of the fog yet. But if Verquillen managed to find himself into the fog, I can send him a message. I know him. I have 25 words or less.
Yep.
What I bring that to the group with I can use Sending to try and send a message to Verquillen. What would you like me to say?
Attend the court of King Killian as guest of his entourage? Something along those lines? Something that makes it sound like a royal summons?
I don't think this is the kind of guy you tend to summon. He's a very, very old elf. I believe someone referred to him as Emperor when they met him, and he's not the kind of guy that you summon. I think you ask.
That's fine then.
Cordially ask his attendance in the court.
All right.
Or you could say something like, "Hey, it's us, and we could really use your help, please."
Pertaining to the emergency of Azarian.
All right. Let's see how many words I can do this in. Azarian.
Just in case, I'm going to cast guidance on you.
Well, yeah, for a check. So, Azarian. What do we want to say? Azarian is out of control. Azarian conquering
Is unknown. We need information more than anything else.
Guidance. Assistance.
Lifeline.
Yeah.
Phone
Phone
ring.
line.
SOS.
Assistance needed with information about Azarian. I'm like literally I'm typing this to see if I can do it 25 words.
Okay.
If possible, please come to Kylos. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's only 12. I got a lot more words. Hey, I'm trying. I've never done this as a player, so I don't know how short.
If you ever watch Critical Role, you will find that Sending is another one of those funny spells. I got Jen.
In my head, I'm going, doot, donuts.
And you're instantly thinking about Laura Bailey, so there's a little call up to the great actors.
So Nautilus and Cascade need assistance with information about Azarian. That's still not a whole lot of words. That's still only 16.
The fate of the world hangs on the balance.
Electo sort of seemed like his thoughts were elsewhere for a second, and then he snaps back. I'm sorry, Cy. What do you have so far?
I don't know. Hold on. Art's thinking.
Cy's good at defending things, not doing courier letters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm a warrior. Magic is for fighting. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 20 words. Nautilus and Cascade need assistance with information about Azarian. If possible, please come to Kylos. He is threatening the whole garden. Threatening to conquer the whole garden.
Alright, send that personally to me.
Hold on, I'm asking everybody if that's...
Oh.
Yeah. And that's what, 20 words?
Adding the whole... That is 21 words. 21 words. I have 4 more words. There is a please in there as well.
Sincerely yours, Savannah, Captain Savannah.
Sincerely.
Add 4 more pleases.
3 pleases and a pretty in front of them.
Anybody think of any other way to write that better?
Nope.
Perfect.
It doesn't.
It's perfect. Why, Cy, you could have been a scholar.
I sort of am.
The poet warrior.
No, not a poet. Definitely not a poet.
Gives this guy a level of bard.
No,
Spontaneously. The DM can do what he wants.
I don't qualify. I don't have a high enough level of. I don't have a high enough charisma. All right, Ben.
That's 5th edition. You don't need that.
Yeah, you do.
Do whatever you want.
The DM can, yeah, but
I said you could have a level of bard. I didn't say you'd be good at it.
Yeah, exactly, man. Such is the explanation of 5th edition. You don't have to qualify for the classes anymore. You just take them and just go with it.
Yeah.
No, there are minimum requirements for multi-classing.
It was back in the day you couldn't even be.
Oh, no, that's true. That's right.
You gotta have
You need a 13 multi-class into it. That's right. So you don't need a 13 to be a bard. You need a 13 to be a fighter bard.
Yeah, Cy has an 8. He's a long ways off.
Work on that.
So, then I think
Your Majesty, while we wait for that, would you like me to take my companions and see what we can find about this cult?
Yeah, I suppose we should probably find out more about them if we can.
No
Ben,
one
do I have
here
any-
has any other... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ben, do I have any backlash or anything for seeing that?
No.
I don't know if I have anybody else with the right skill set to go with you, Electo.
Oh.
Okay.
She'll be on the poking around the side of the city that is often not seen by the court.
Throwkill, if I can ask, do you have any insight on the District of Flowers and Shadows that I should be aware of?
I'm only recently arrived as well, and I'm not familiar with the name, and less so with the activities. I would almost guess that the name is a code word or just a group or an activity, a society that operates in a place that has a normal name.
One does not call themselves the Cult of the Night Garden, but I wonder if there's maybe like a Night Garden Tavern or a Midnight Garden or some sort in that area. That
I wonder more.
Would I know any of that?
Would you know what?
Any of what Josh was asking about?
Yeah, any sort of like, is there like a Midnight Botanical Garden in the city, or is there anything, I'm trying to go ahead and basically do like an insight check on the name and say, well, if I hung out at Bob's Tavern with all of my friends, we might be known as Bob's Gang, right? Mm-hmm. So is there some reason why the Cult of the Night Garden is called the Cult of the Night Garden because of something in the city that they take identity from?
You will know
that they don't mess with Bob's Gang. They know
exactly. Yeah.
Let me just check some maps just so I can make sure I'm looking at it.
It had occurred to me that as we're in the Garden of Gaia, these dark forces might be operating as a cult of the Night Garden. That's the only thing that I had thought of.
So the darkness that's encroaching on the Garden of Gaia is what gives them their name, the Night Garden.
I'm gonna say
A menacingly dramatic name for bad actors.
Could be on the nose, and they only come out at night.
You don't know anything about the Night Garden, but there is like 18 buildings that surround a ring around a garden courtyard in the far west of the city of Kylos, called the District of Flowers and Shadows.
Right. And so it surrounds a garden.
Yeah, and it's a bunch of it's people who sell flower and herbalist stuff, as far as you know.
And it's like, so those 18 buildings like surround an inner garden courtyard.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
It's where they grow the good stuff, man. They keep it away from the eyes of the fuzz.
Yep.
Oh no, it's legal in my town.
It's the first thing that His Majesty did when he was.
Right. I got back from hell, and that was my first proclamation.
Weed is legal, man. I need it. I was in hell. Went to hell and back.
That's right.
All right.
All right. Let's put this right here for now. All right. So this big open spot right here, where my black arrow is, that is the place that you know of. There is a couple like herbalist shops and stuff also around. Other individual places in the city. So that, I mean, you don't know if that's something.
All right.
Yes, Art. That is a yes.
One other thought, and perhaps maybe this is a stretch, but wasn't one of the 7 that came back some sort of ethereal demon knight of some sort? Just the party in general.
I would have to let Cascade roll a history check at advantage to see if it was at some point discussed with her.
Was Cascade there when we fought?
15.
So?
What was that?
Was Cascade there when we fought?
No.
Most of them?
That's what I'm saying. It would have to be discussed.
Oh, wait. Electo was there when the 7 came back.
You were.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
We got an eye check on him.
Yeah.
You know.
And I got a 15.
We didn't make introductions, but we saw him.
Electo thinking from your memory, Cascade, you might have remembered something about Arturo in Greenwood.
Yep.
The best description that you can think of.
So could it? Maybe it's not the Night Garden, like dark moon out. Maybe it's Night Garden, as in Knight.
But you will know Arturo, the Grey Drake, are 2 of the 7 that are considered destroyed. Former Soulstone possessors.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So probably not. Just another thought.
Probably nighttime.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Has anybody written it down?
So
we would know.
So then, Your Majesty, my plan would be for me and my companions to go there this evening and return by morning.
So at one point during all of that, Cy looked like he got distanced for a second, and when a break comes up like this, he says, I actually got a return message.
Okay.
He says, well, he's looking for the gods, which I'm not sure how that helps us at all. But he says, Noah Zazarian is a great strategist. He is evil and honorable. The concern is the dread realm tied to his soul again. So, I don't know how that helps us.
I don't know what that means.
Elves and their fucking riddles.
Josh,
well, we know he's evil. It's good to know that there's some sort of confirmation that he's honorable, even though we haven't necessarily seen it. However, that does imply that people who treat with him have at least some, not protection, or perhaps the people who treat with him have nothing special, but the people who do not treat with him are acted on quickly and without remorse. So by dealing with him and engaging him in some way, we can engage his honor and have some understanding of how he might act or
Cascade,
restrict some of what he might do.
Cascade, you can again roll history again at advantage.
I would agree with that assessment. Makes sense to me.
21.
Cascade has a flash of genius and can add +4 to her roll.
So that's a 25.
25.
Wow. Okay, so as he mentions that, you immediately get that bombardment of the timeline that the Raven Queen gave you. And I'll kind of like summarize a lot of stuff, not pushes into your head. You know that Azarian is tied to the bloodline. Now you kind of remember something about him and HK. The Greystoke bloodline, which the two of them share, but isn't quite broadcast between the two of them, is apparently huge with the guy. Like, that's the whole thing. And then if you start thinking about it, New Greyheim, some of the things that are going around, he's recreating, in a lot of essence, things that are very familiar from the old Alanis. So that bloodline means something important. What you remember of the Greystokes is they're huge heroes. They're like the people who ended up changing the realm. And he apparently had a lot of belief he had a lot of belief with that himself. Like, he feels like he was doing what his part was because it was in his bloodline to do so. And he believed that he was the smartest, more constructed and doing that aspect than anybody else. Like, he was the best of his family to get it done, and proved and felt like he was getting it done. So that's where he knew how to get allies. This guy knew how to take over kingdoms. He did it in the timeline that you remember. He was attached to all sorts of different races. He was in control of things even of the undead. There isn't a distaste with him. Like, that's probably something that of the psychology that you can come out of him. Like, most people that you've ever dealt with, especially since you've been on the high seas and you've been going around, from the one thing out of that time that you can pick out of him, Azarian wasn't like, he didn't have a stereotype to a person. He didn't have he didn't have a disdain to a person. He wasn't racist. Like, there was never ever an aspect with Azarian with that. But he was very bound by his word, his name, and basically the actions that you did. Like, those are things with him that meant a lot to him. And considering that you're evil, to kind of have that binding as part of your personality is something you've never heard of. It's a pretty unique blend for an individual of that level of evil and magnitude, and in the history that he did, that he was binding people together. Like, when he conquered cities of good, he didn't just wipe out everything. He sort of twisted things, but he made things work together. Like, everything was always worked together. Like, even churches that were bonded to the sun still had to work on the aspects of his vampire minions or undead bodyguards or monstrosities that he had in certain locations of positions. Like, he always had that type of collaboration with no matter what, and got the best out of each of sects of different people, stations of life, even if it comes to farmers, craftsmen, to the city guard, to the politicians. Like, he had noble families that served against him, served with him in the city of Khazgoroth and Caer-Dallum. These are things that you just like, what? Like, you don't get that out of a dictator type of person who just kind of flips a script and all of a sudden the people are part of what his society is. And that's one of the things that the heroes that he fought with had the hardest time with dealing with him, because he wasn't an unpopular person enough to just remove because you wanted to hang him. He was so well liked and sort of protected by so many different factions within what he conquered that it would be you would end up being just as criminal or evil to try to remove what he's already taken from you. Like, he binds it in law, he binds it in your faith. When he takes something, he takes all of that, and he'll make your perspective believe in him and his way. And that's the scariest thing about the individual that you're pulling out of that history that the Raven Queen gave you. Like, that was where the heroes had the hardest time. Like, he took over a city. In any other fairy tale book that you read or history book, you just go in and you just take the guy out. These heroes were powerful heroes with relic artifacts that dated back hundreds of years. They should have taken a vampire lord. Should have been. It's right there in your history. But they could never touch him. He had positions of authority. He had positions of faith. And these are faiths like Tyr. Like, he used Tyr against the heroes. This man is bonded by word and what he stands for. And he can turn that against even the best heroes that have tried to dispose of him.
No, he's not one of your favorite NPCs, is he?
He turned into that, man. I'm just letting you know.
I know.
Cass would have shared all of that and then been like, oh, God, and I got a headache. I don't know where that came from.
It was like a different voice was speaking. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a harsh narrating voice. You're like, oh, shit.
Okay. So, meeting with him isn't a bad idea then. Forming an alliance as we just formed with Lockett.
So he can say, I'm going to take over your city. You have my word.
We formed an alliance with Lockett. We could try and form an alliance with him.
So it's an opportunity to, at least while we're talking, we're stalling, we're preparing. While we're talking, he's watching. He's already watching, and he's preparing. But the thing is that it's time. He could strike at any moment while we're not talking to him and be caught flat-footed. Or we could probably... Somebody with... Depending on where he was taken from his timeline, if he has had centuries of refinement, then it's going to be a long game that we're going to struggle with. If he was taken from some point where he may be a little less experienced, we might be able to talk our way out of this to some sort of détente and be the last free city, or the leader of the free cities, or at least have enough time to be prepared for some treachery. The new betrayal is his term, but he is lawful. So I think that the betrayal comes from the devil in the contract details. That is probably our greatest threat, because he will invoke some clause that we would need to cede to him and give him what he wanted without a shot being fired, or we would break the contract and then be the bad guys and still lose militarily, but also lose legally.
The Persian Empire strategy.
Cascade, the information that you just received is basically the timeline of Azarian. You understand his timeline?
Yes.
If he just created a new Greyheim, where does old Greyheim fit within his timeline? And then can we cross-reference that with Verquillen's question about his connection to a Dread Realm? Like, where are we in the progression of Azarian? Are we before or after his connection to the Dread Realm was formed? Because that seemed to be a seminal question from Verquillen about which Azarian we're facing. Are we facing mortal Verquillen, mortal Azarian, or immortal Azarian?
You can roll a history check, but it's going to be a straight roll this time.
And if the one that came over was pre-Dread Realm, is there anything that's preventing him
You have
from
another-
not getting to that point
Another flash
in
of
this
genius.
timeline anyway?
Add 4.
A lot of geniuses in this room.
I'm just that helpful.
That'll give me a solid 10. I rolled a 1.
Well, that's an automatic failure.
Yeah.
Your migraine is hitting your head. You just can't remember that shit.
You're getting a nosebleed.
Sorry, Jen. There are 3 of us in the game that know the answers, but we have to ask.
I know.
Right. I get it.
Well, we know what the answers may be, but our next actions need to be based on the answers to these questions. Because, again, if my information is to be believed and he is operating from a place of grief, if that is a natural grief, perhaps it can be assuaged. If it is a supernatural grief, I fear we do not have the tools.
So I think we need to try to find out what the cause of that grief is. What exactly?
The death of his bride to be, right? I'm reading my notes correctly, Ben. Is that he was promised to be married, and that?
Well, I think your
she
notes
died?
kind of, to be kind of clear, is something he took advantage of in Sfazo.
Right.
That wife to be was supposed to be Killian's. He rescued the daughter
Right.
who was dead in the realm of dead, brought her back to life using a bloodstone. She was supposed to marry him, but he had a different way because they were
That's
promised
right.
resurrected bloodlines. So he took advantage of that situation, got himself to become king, which we
That's
just
right.
talked about the strategies of things that he'll take advantage
Yeah.
of.
He,
So
he married
worked-
her instead of letting Killian marry her. That's
yeah,
right.
and then he worked himself and now becoming a conqueror. Now he
That's
has
right,
a city
okay.
of his own. So you can see how quickly he can do something with not having an army, nothing like that. Now he's in there.
It doesn't sound like that bride would be the cause of his grief.
No.
Right.
That was more of an instrument of his.
Yep. Nope.
But here's the frightening
his
thing that
plans.
Captain Throlka will now start thinking about that as you kind of put that timeline into piece. In the time frame that he's basically taken over now, Sfazo to now New Greyheim, he's implemented an order of militaries that have the other king dynasties have not seen. Like, he has specialized elite guard that is frighteningly taking out the way he's able to remove the way the dynasties operate. Now, I think Captain Electo and Simal is thinking about some of the lore that you kind of get into because of where Soul came from and that part of it. He may be a little bit slower to act in some aspects of things because he's used to the way the order of things were done in New Greyheim. I mean, in Old Alanis to Old Greyheim. The dynasties operate differently because anything can be quickly passed down to bloodlines because that's why they're called dynasties. So he's sort of doing a much more butchering type. This is where the evil is showing. In Hollowdale, in Ashgate, he butchered the bloodlines to remove that type of leadership, just like that. He knew he had to do that. He created 2 to 3 elite units that are very capable of completing these tasks. So you now know possibly to defend yourself, and you actually know possibly the people who are in danger, which would be the king and the queen and his daughter.
So we know that Azarian is from the Greystoke line,
Yes.
and that there are a number of Greystokes that are tremendous good heroes or legendary heroes, well regarded. Stories, credibility.
Dime knowledge, yes.
So, right.
Those
So they're
weren't
all
the
dime
hard-
novel heroes. They're all dime novel heroes, and he's a dime novel villain. How many other villains or nobodies are in the Greystoke line?
There have been some that did not ever make great names. There have definitely been some that have made tragedy, but none of them have ever made to Azarian's greatness.
Right. So that's what I'm thinking. If he is grief driven, I think it's a credibility issue. He thinks that he's as good as those dime novel legends, but nobody has ever given him that credibility. that he has been cast as the ultimate villain. So he's decided to show everybody, oh, you think I'm bad? Let me show you bad. And that he is going to gain the credibility by force. People will have to recognize him as a tremendous statesman, politician, conqueror, military genius, general, if he conquers the world or if he conquers two worlds. Credibility might be recognition of his individual genius, may be the wedge that works.
All right, all of you in the room may now make an Arcana check. It is impossibly high, but if you make it, I will reveal something.
Oh, nice +0. 16.
It's a 19
Ben?
for me.
Ben, do we know how much of his old world he was ruling, and maybe his height of his power?
Cascade does.
Oh, Cascade's taking a nap.
I'm listening. I'm here. I just rolled because he told me to.
26.
Whoa, Cy.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Do you have any more brilliant genius things, Mark?
I can spend one on Cy. That's my last one.
That put him at 30.
He'll need it.
I'll need it.
So that puts Cy at 30.
Okay, Cy. That was the DC, 30.
Wow.
Cy, in your time, looking at Throkel, as you try to collaborate, you guys are bouncing off. He's giving you this thing like, if he's a villain, and most megalomaniac villains need to be recognized to feel that they are that important in the world. You have gone back and done at least research of the fact that where Hades was looking to get Silk, where did he get Silk? What is Silk? Pulling that in. That goes back to the thing that you guys know about the Shadowfell Tide of the Dread Realm. Again, you go back to the philosophy. The Dread Realm is basically a prison to the being that it creates a realm for. And they're all tied, sorted, landlocked together more or less, with a fog barrier that allows them in and out depending on whatever the realm wants to have happen to the Dreadlord and the prison inside. You've had kind of known and figured out Silk. Her whole situation was about a paladin that spurned her, and she tried to get more power, and when all that happened, that kind of where her love or her want of things kind of all fell apart, and then she was taken and punished for what she did to her mentor and so-called friends from that aspect there, and that got her to become the first Dreadlord. Remember, Cascade has now kind of talked about that this torch sort of passed at one point when people started believing that Silk's, because she became in touch more with the goddess aspect, they could change her her identity, so to speak, through faith. Like, if you believe that she'll do these things and do better, we can make her a better goddess. She won't be evil if we have good parts of our faith that believe she's good. So that did sort of start altering what she was trapped in the realm. There was actually a bit of an alteration, and some of that power bled out and got away. And that power went to Azarian. Because Azarian had gotten the people that hated him to a high enough level to warrant that. Sorry, I've been fighting a terrible cough lately. So, we noticed that Azarian's gotten the power. We know why he's getting it, because he's evil as fuck. And to that point, but what would the Dread Realm punish him with? That is where your epiphany hits. Azarian has always gotten the recognition, he's always gotten the power, but there is one thing that he can't always have. And the one thing that has jerked him back, as you kind of bounce this information between the five of you, and it goes back, is Silk can pull him back. Silk is the one weakness he cannot control. She has whatever Dread Realm, Archon, divinity, whatever aspect, that's the one thing that he has to abide by for some dark, possible Dread Realm reason that he can't control because it's the Dread Realm's grip and punishment to him.
So his torture is he can do everything he wants to do, except he just can't get out from under the thumb of Silk if she wants to manipulate it.
No matter what. And you think about his
betrayal
path and his positions and his wants, his projection, they have shown that he's been very separate and he's been very strong about identifying himself as his own. But if you think about the things that have tripped him up and stopped him from going all out to where he wanted to be, it is because of her.
So the betrayal would probably be the fact that he was here doing his thing without her power above him. And now she's here in the realm.
And now she's been brought back.
Right.
Do they always feel a connection still since his power
You
came
don't think the
from
betrayal
her?
between them, that terminology seems to be, because of the combination of stat, the betrayal seems to be attached to something else.
Okay.
Like, this is something that isn't usually, like, what I'm telling you is more of something that isn't usually detected by anybody. Like, if all the stories I went through, nobody ever tried to, like, turn Silk on Azarian or try to get Azarian to, like, lose his aspect with her faith being something put on him.
Isn't there a Greystoke specifically responsible for bringing Silk back?
Back, I mean,
Like
Yeah,
bringing
HK.
Silk here.
for here?
HK.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Would that be a big enough betrayal for Azarian if a family member was responsible for introducing the one thing that he could never control?
It could probably, but again, I'm saying the betrayal is attached to a different thing
Okay.
in your
Yeah,
in your notes. I want to make sure that you're not. You
The
can
betrayal
end up
isn't
doing that, but I mean, it's not for your key of what you heard earlier. That betrayal is not what
Okay.
you guys are figuring out. It is something to exploit, though, for you. Like,
Okay.
it may not. I don't want to say use the word betrayal, but I would use the term advantage of or insight of now knowing that type of connection between the two.
Who wants to make friends with Silk?
Well, it'll need to be one of you extroverts.
I
Well,
mean,
Mr. Cy, of any of us here, I think I probably have the closest connection to her.
that's true.
You remember that insight buzz, Josh? It just went off.
Yeah. Wait. What?
Huh?
I mean, I didn't mean to, but I didn't. Well,
Are you tight into her?
I mean, I wouldn't say that she'd invite me for dinner, but she gave me a gift. Well, I accepted a gift.
Does that make you a friend or a servant?
Well, there's a question I didn't ask myself when I accepted it.
And you saw no value in this information until now?
Well, until recently, no, and then until even more recently,
Forgot.
no, I certainly didn't forget. I may have, Mr. Cy. Can you? I don't know how much I should be saying right now, Mr. Cy. What with what your friend said.
All of it.
He was not my friend. He was he's a mage. He's got his own views and opinions. But
Now's not the time to hold your cards close to the vest.
I'm actually going to cast Private Sanctum. It's it's my only 4th level slot for the day, but
you take a nap after. Let's talk.
Well, and what does that do?
it basically just turned it into a private room. Almost completely private. No one can teleport in and out. Planar travel is blocked. Sensors created by divination spells can't appear in protected area. The barrier warded area appears dark and foggy, and sound can't pass through the barrier at the edge of the warded area. So I've basically created a very private area that no one, as far as I know there are those that can hear, but yeah. And after I finish casting, I say, tell him. Explain it to him.
Well, I mean, I joined that group with Mr. HK kind of late. I needed their help, and part of the bargain was if I helped them, then they'd help me, and they helped me along the way, really. But we've already told you they were collecting those stones as a way to the sins, they called them, to go and release Silk. And when we did, she and the Raven Queen offered some of us a gift.
She offered everybody a gift.
She offered everyone a gift. Not everyone took it. That's true. I was one of those that accepted it because I thought, well, a little more power if I was going to be in a fight might be helpful.
So you've seen Silk and the Raven Queen in the same place at the same time?
Oh, yeah.
They're two separate entities?
Oh, that most certainly.
And it's not like God and Avatar or something like that where the same being could be in two different bodies?
Oh, absolutely not. They are two different entities.
So do you still have a connection to Silk right now?
Well, I don't know. I've not tried to talk to her. I tried to talk to the Raven Queen. Well, I didn't try to talk to the Raven Queen. I saw a raven and I talked to it. It seemed really nice.
Or a random raven? Huh?
It seemed really nice, except for the whole horde that chased you off.
Well, that was later.
There are a bunch of other people that accepted this gift as well.
How many?
None of them here in Kylos.
7, perhaps? More?
Not that many.
Yeah, actually, pretty close to that many.
Actually, more.
Yeah, because a lot of NPCs got it too.
Oh, I forgot about the NPCs.
Electo will look around the room. Somebody at one point mentioned something about heroes of silks or something that would need to be fought to stop her from being here and causing what's going on. Who mentioned that?
Not me.
Somebody mentioned that at some point.
I think
Not
that
last game, but the game before.
I think that was in last game when Cy and Cass were in that talking to that mage.
I think it was NPC.
I'm not exactly. I'm not sure that I was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the NPC who said we need to kill all the Titans.
Did you bring that information?
No. What?
In Nectar.
Yeah, just ask.
What?
No, we haven't mentioned that.
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
I know this cool wizard that doesn't want to die.
I view that as someone who has an opinion different than mine because he doesn't know who the Titans are. How's that? So
Not if you didn't bring it to the group, then Electo would not act on that information.
Well, your insight is too high, Electo.
Oh, I don't trust her as far as I can throw her.
No, but
back.
I want to say something for both of them. You know that it wouldn't make any sense for them not to know. Do you know what I mean? If they came from the original group and she saw the gift, she saw the Raven Queen and Silk, you know, I mean, it's investigation 101. You just need to be now told who the party members are. Yeah. They've been kind of briefed about, but this could be something that Killian needs to know, because you need to know about Zindred, you need to know about Lesky, you need to know about Fireman. Like, these are beings that could all have this power, and they could be all in this different thing, and especially with you having the ability to sail the 7 seas, could find them out.
Right.
And
I don't remember which NPCs took it, though. I remember which one of our party took it, but I don't remember which one.
But that's fine. I mean, you two can speculate, but the fact that you actually have all the names of everyone before you all broke away is something that he has enough insight to know that you guys are holding that back right now.
Cascade.
You know Cy's holding it back, too.
Yeah. But I've traveled with Cy. I have fought with Cy. I never once doubted your honor. Cascade. I'm going to say this as calmly and rationally as I can. I think that it is reasonable to assume that you and your party of people who have aligned themselves with this goddess queen and the Raven Queen as her companion are at some fault for what is going on here. And we need more information. We need to know it all. Immediately.
Well, I mean, that's basically everything that I know.
No, it is not.
I had a sin. I had gluttony. It was interesting, to say the least.
Who were you with, and where are they?
They are spread about the realm, trying to do their own things. Some are going to Olympus to treat with Zeus to stop the god war. Others are going to other areas of the island to Spero wasn't an island, is it, Ben?
It is a big continent. I mean,
all right.
It's not, say island, continent.
World. Okay. So some are going to other areas of the world to fight off and save their homes. None of them are here with us now.
Can you get them here?
I doubt we can get anything through these mists. Unless the god of the mists...
You mean Silk. You mean Silk.
No, I don't mean Silk. There is a god of the mists.
We met him on
sorry,
our way
go ahead
in.
and clarify. Didn't you say earlier that Silk has elected herself as the goddess of magic, and is at some point connected here? Or was that in-game or out-of-game information? Yeah.
Well, let me see if we were kind of talked about. They I want to say you have been misled to the proper assumption that you just spoke about right now.
Okay, so Electo has that Electo has that conclusion, but he may not be right.
Correct.
So Silk is a goddess of magic, and I'm drawing a blank on
Ezra.
No. Is
She's
Nyx or Ezra?
Nyx. That's
Nyx.
That's
Sorry,
Ben
the name
called
was
him.
changed over the years.
Ben called him Ezra when we first got there, and I have it
misspoke,
written
'cause
down
I was-
now next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
All right. Nyx is the god of the mists, and was the one who got us here, and have not heard from Nyx since. I don't know what that one's game is, that they have control over the mists and how they relate to the Dreadlords, but it seems like they may be the only one that we could get to help with traveling through the mist. Or the Dreadlord themselves. The Dreadlord controls it all.
Captain, I just want you to understand is that we understand that we may have done in trying to do a great good by not allowing Hades to have more power, which was the main reason they told me for what we were doing was to keep Hades from stealing Silk's power, I believe. we understand that we may have done something worse than what we intended. That's why many of our group has scattered. It's not that they've scattered to hide; they've scattered to try to fix this.
So let me understand for a moment that you aligned yourself with people who proclaimed proudly that they were accepting sins from Silk to protect her, and then under the guise of being under her control and having received her power, were confused to thinking that there was some other being which may steal her power that you needed to defend the queen of the goddesses from. That's the assumption that you guys were traveling on.
They told me that they were told that that Hades had Silk imprisoned and was using and stealing her power, and that he was wanting to start a war with Zeus, which is why they were doing what they were doing.
And what would you have been willing to do to ensure that that evil god was stopped?
Well,
It sounds like you very sincerely and honestly were willing to do anything that it would take to be able to make that happen.
So let's be frank. Let me stop you all right now. The actions they took were because of actions we were involved in. We were the ones that helped get Silk into Hades' hands. We were tricked into doing it, but we did it. And they were trying to undo what we did to make sure Hades didn't take over the realm from his brother.
I'm not trying to pass judgment on actions that were taken. I'm understanding or trying to understand the root of the intent, that she had every intent to do anything that it would take to accomplish the good thing. Yes?
I was under the understanding. I joined their group late. I honestly, and this is not nice, and not kind of me, I had a very unkind moment, but I was seeking revenge for the death of my family and my crew, and I needed their help, but they needed mine. And by the time they helped solve my problem, which just happened to be along the way, I had earned friends.
Yeah.
And I trusted them with what they were saying to me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would not have taken that gluttony stone.
Right. So you were acting in good faith, and you were trying to do what it would take to stop the evil from happening, as you understood it, as you were led to believe.
Unfortunately, I believe they all were manipulated by the Raven Queen to go down this path so that the Raven Queen could gather power as well as Silk, because the Raven Queen was unheard of in Spero before this.
And I can agree with that as well.
And now we have a god war on our hands that we can't prevent.
It's already begun.
Exactly.
But I'm bringing to light, putting it out there and clear that the actions that were taken got us to a different place than where you thought it would lead. That's fine. That's not what I'm concerned with. That everything that you did was all based on good faith, what you thought were good actions or what would lead to, if not a good action, then the prevention of an evil outcome. You are attempting to stop an evil triumph. Yeah?
Yes.
So, then, what I'm asking from you is to continue to be willing to do all the things that you did before. I'm willing to bet that in the pursuit of stopping the evil, in the pursuit of defending your friends, or perhaps avenging evils done on people that you couldn't protect, or evils that you couldn't prevent, you are willing to fight the gods themselves, or even lay down your life to prevent further evil from happening. Do I read that correctly?
That is correct. However, I heard not more than a couple of hours ago today that all of us that took that gift from Silk must die, which is why I'm keeping my lips sealed at this point in time until I know I can trust y'all with those names. Those are my friends. If they can help, yes. But if you're telling, I just want to make sure that y'all aren't asking for those names just so you can go hunt them down. I will take that too.
Captain,
Okay, so
if I thought all of them needed to die, I would have told these people already myself. And if I thought
let
they
me
would kill people, I would have told them myself. So that's not a
let me ask you this
I have
question.
no intention of going after any of them.
Let me ask you this question.
Or
If the defense of those 6 names led to the destruction and the death of the people in this city, and I do mean, say, well, in any kind of siege, there are always survivors. So let's call it 75% casualties, which has got to be in the hundreds of thousands of strangers, or at least people who've given you hospitality, served you drinks, cooked your food. The defense of those 6 names is higher in value than the death of hundreds of thousands. Would that be a good act equal to the intentions that you had when you took on the role of holding that stone? I'm not asking for a kill list. You got that name from, and I'm going to characterize him harshly, but I think it's probably accurate. You got that opinion about the Titans being killed as an absolute critical necessity from an armchair general who was an academic who has not actually stepped outside the walls in probably more decades than you have on the planet. So I will take his word under consideration as a strategic possibility, but not an absolute necessity, given that my honor and my oath is staked on defending the entirety of this city and the entirety of its population, given that you have been given hospitality to this city, that includes you to the degree that I can. My interest is in defending the city, which appears in a God War level conflict. I have to defend the entire continent. I need to know all the things that I can from the people that have good, sincere intentions, because God knows there's plenty of people around that have very cynical, hidden, evil intentions. Now, you can weigh the value of the lives or the consideration of my honor, since we've only met in boardrooms so far. However, the conflicts that I've been in and the things that I've done led me to being appointed almost sight unseen, only by reputation, to the defense of this city. Those are the only credentials that I have.
Captain, what do you
And
want?
I suppose...
You're saying a lot and saying nothing. What do you want?
Go ahead.
I'm asking you, what do you want? Simply put.
I want to defend this city and everyone in it, including you. I don't necessarily want people on an executioner's block, because somebody who hasn't actually killed people or seen the people in his charge die said flippantly that people that he doesn't know need to be executed.
Fine.
Maybe he's smarter than me, but maybe he's also blind.
yeah, I don't think you want to necessarily take his word as gospel. That he's
So what are you asking
Yeah,
of
all
us?
the all.
I have a question.
To
What
trust me, I suppose.
what good would naming my friends? What good?
Needed to go ahead and make this decision like we should have had. Needed to go ahead and make this decision like we should have had 3 weeks ago before we went off on fool's chases, trying to go
Gentlemen,
ahead and figure out what the dental was going on.
Gentlemen, if I felt the names on that list were important, I'd have given to you to myself.
Well, it
They
would
are
have been
not
nice to be able to make that.
important.
no,
This
there he
never
is.
happened before. There we go. Are you back, Ben?
I think so. I think we're still
No,
streaming. Yeah. we're just-
we lost you. Are you still there?
You hear me?
There we go. It's always supposed to happen at a cliffhanger anyway.
It's still going live. We just kind of blipped out a little bit. It's like the extra recording space.
On the back of the fill it out and without the give your scratchies and she's on her hind legs.
We didn't blip, you blipped.
Yeah, OSB kind of like just
Good to
stopped
see her out of
the
her
recording
hole.
part. So it was still streaming live. I just want to make sure that was going. We haven't had an interruption. I've had a couple of interruptions on OSB every once in a while. I just want to make sure we didn't lose anything going because you guys are getting pretty hot and heavy. So I'm sorry, we're still good.
Yeah.
We'll be back in.
Whoa.
But as I do interrupt,
so,
Carl,
I'll
check
get
your
into
Facebook Messenger, please. Now go back into it.
Cy, I'm asking you to put yourself in my shoes for just a moment. Imagine that I had information that is deeply tied to the situation that you have put your family at risk to defend against. And now you are coming with Cascade and saying, oh, well, yeah, no, of course we know that, but we didn't want to tell you because we didn't trust you.
I never said I didn't trust you.
No, Cascade did.
Relevant.
Cascade
shouldn't trust you. She doesn't know anything.
She's afraid for her life. Everybody's afraid for their life right now.
But I think now we're at the cards on the table phase.
Should have been at the cards on the table. Your
Yeah.
Majesty, in all deference, we should have been at the cards on the table phase the minute that they came in and said that we were fighting a frickin' god war. Maybe the avatar of one of those gods should have spoken up and said, hey, I've got information that might be useful.
But she doesn't have
I don't
any.
think she's an avatar. She's a link, an anchor.
She's been blessed. She was literally given power.
Power.
She has no connection.
Power from a god. What else would you call that?
Manipulation.
Which is the same thing. Which is kind of the same thing that happened to Azarian, right? He kind of got power from Silk as well, or that's how he got. That's why he's connected to her.
He got
power
power
from the Dread Realm.
because Silk lost power, I guess, would be the better way to put it.
She made an investment then because she doesn't lose power. She doesn't give it away. That's not how gods work.
Right.
Well,
They gain power by giving it away.
she was also, I think she actually gained power by becoming a true god versus just a dreadlord. I think that's the distinction here. Is she rose from dreadlord to goddess, and some of that power goes to Azarian.
I was about to throw myself into the darkest corner of this city to go ahead and try to find a morsel of information that pales in comparison to the little factoid that Cascade throws out as if it wasn't important.
How is it important that she has been given power by Silk? I don't understand.
The connection between Silk and her connection to Silk, the fact that there are other people that are actually walking this planet, that these Titans are not mythical and hypothetical, that they are living, breathing human being people who are walking around. Like, none of this is. Am I wrong that this is exceptionally important? And that
In the
I
moments-
know?
I don't.
When we realized that maybe the method of defeating Azarian is a connection to Silk, and if only we had a connection to Silk,
If only.
We didn't have that connection until we didn't have that thought process until right now, which means it became relevant right now when we brought it out. Up till now, I didn't think it was all that important.
I didn't criticize you for the timing of it.
And
No.
can I just point out is once again I'll say I don't know if I have a connection. I've not even tried to talk to her. The best that I could do is try to talk to her.
You have a connection in that she gave you some sort of gift.
But that doesn't mean she's
that
going
is
to
connected
listen.
to her.
I don't know. When was the last time you ate, Cascade?
8?
You had the gluttony stone.
I had it, but I don't
Well,
have it
I thought that was
anymore. It's gone.
Now,
Wait, what
do you
is-
remember the whole preamble that I started off with, where I was talking about how I believed you acted in good faith the entire time and that I didn't think that you were a scumbag? Before I asked you questions that got everybody all upset? You remember that I actually started off with, I trust you even though I don't know you because I figure you did these things for the right reason?
Yeah.
So, I still haven't called you a scumbag yet. And I still haven't asked for your head yet. Although I have said that I'm responsible for keeping hundreds of thousands of people alive in the face of a god war and probably a demigod who is chained somehow to a god that you might be able to talk to and might be able to pull his leash in.
And I just said that, I brought this all up just so I could offer and say, hey, I will try and talk to her. But instead we had a big old argument. And no, I don't have the gluttony stone anymore, Captain Electo. It's gone. We gave up those sins when we went and freed Silk.
Didn't know that.
Would have been, yeah. We don't understand cosmology here, Cascade.
No, I don't either. I believe in this. I belong out at sea. I don't belong here.
There are a lot of things going on that are really hard to keep track of. You'll forgive me for not remembering every single detail that has happened over the past couple of weeks, or for the years I was in hell.
I already have.
Nobody's holding those things against you. I think the issue people are having is that not coming forward now, even still, keeping that information. It's now time to say, everything I know you now know.
Thus far, other than giving you a list of names, I've given you everything I can think of. I've never held back from any of them. If you want a list of names, I'll give them to you. I trust you with them. I just wasn't going to give it to anybody else.
There's one I don't even think we'd be able to get any kind of speaking to, because they're the ones that went to Olympus.
There's two. Well, one turned down the gift.
It doesn't even really matter if we're able to contact them or not. We want to know the players in the big picture.
Chessboard?
We want to know, who's out there. We don't want to get blindsided with this person later on and say, oh shit, who the hell is this? Where'd they come from?
Fine.
When that's the name that you didn't want to give.
Well,
Cy says he trusts me. Cy trusts me. I trust everyone in this room.
I will.
So there's no need to worry about that.
I'll.
Cascade, I will give the names. You don't have to.
I will say this. I think the only name on the list that would have been of any importance to y'all is a Greystoke.
That doesn't surprise me.
Mr. HK was one of them.
I don't understand how he became a Greystoke from actually shit. No, wrong game. Forget it. Wrong game. Wrong game. The other character has a problem with that.
I don't know if anybody here would know how he became a Greystoke.
Yeah, no. That's
because he already was when he met Cascade and Cy.
No. It's like I said. Forget it. That was information from the other game that my other character is confused.
Well, you guys are all from Kylo.
It's usually biology or theology that makes that happen.
What?
You are from Kylo.
It's usually biology or theology that makes it happen.
Oh, well, I don't think biology was involved.
You know of Forstad. He is a warforge. He was a creation of the gnomes and the dwarves from Forstad. So your biology is not working.
Again, Cy wouldn't have said that. Cy doesn't have any clue about that. That was Ash's concern. That totally me confusing games for a second.
Okay, well, if you're anyone to ask the description, HK is known in the land to be a warforge.
Hephaestus Kenrick Greystoke. Warforged Paladin of Tyr. He wields 2 blades of Tyr, and I've found that Tyr is the god of law and order.
Lawful, like Bazarian?
Lawful and good, as best I can tell. Law and order and justice. One of the few gods I picked up information about from Alanis because of HK.
You would also know that he's carrying 2 relic blades of Alanis.
That's what I said.
Okay.
That he has 2 of Tyr's relic weapons.
Whoever Tyr is, you've never heard of Tyr.
Well, he told me who Tyr was. That's the only thing I know about Tyr.
Alecto
He's the
doesn't know
god
about
of
Tyr.
Mono.
Yeah, no idea. Yeah. So how does he carry blades from another realm that is not the realm that he is from?
The same way I do and Killian does.
Yeah, they must have come over with everybody when
I guess I didn't realize.
when my brother left, got his new troops and left.
I guess I didn't realize that
hell,
your
they
blade
brought
was
it with
from
them.
the other realm side.
Well, I don't have the blade, I have the bow.
Yeah.
Killian has a blade that we got at the end of that.
Of another,
Ra.
I would have mentioned of another god called Ra.
Yeah.
Who-
Sun god.
We didn't know much about until now.
Alecto, your
We've had a
insight
little
again
cat.
is passive 22. I'm going to play into your personal player character.
Mm-hmm.
You have now been named in your sitting at this moment for a good hour. 5 gods that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Within this hour of talking right now.
Yeah.
And that does not seem like we're not talking Titans. You're now starting to see a pantheon being told to you at the moment.
Yeah. And is it feeling like it's two pantheons that are meshing, or that one is crushing the other?
Well, again, your
They're gonna
insight.
fight.
Apparently, this is the conflict that you can't get through Cy and Cascade. Is when you're talking about information, you don't have all the details of what's kind of like how they like. You're looking for psychology and how to act. Well, if I were to tell you, hey, your only person that you know of is Ares, or Poseidon, and that's your belief system is the only god that you know of. But I told you that Artemis, Apollo, Dionysus, Hermes, they make up the shape of what your people believe in, what they give their aspect to and stuff like that. You've just also been told that Silk wasn't a goddess until recently. She is something that is not really heard of in of the old gods, where she was made into godhood. Like gods are born of gods. That's how that was. If you're of a god, you're a demigod or a titan. That's how it kind of is. You're not really a god of your own.
Yeah. Like none of this makes really any sense. He's kind of just like letting it wash over him. Like I don't like what is a Ra? What is a tier? What is a
It does make a sense in the element that you're not getting the questions figured out of who is Ra, who is Tyr, who is the Raven Queen, who is Nyx.
Yeah.
If you were to piece together, because if you were to take now, say if I say to you, oh, Ra is who? The sun god. Well, Apollo's my sun god. Well, who's your god of war? That's your insight 22 that I'm going to do as a DM to you right now.
Yep.
It's kind of like they're the Greek and Roman.
So it's like there's like a parallel
for gods that are.
Yeah, but your insight part of it
different
is trying
names,
to
same
figure out
game.
how Silk can pull Azarian, but what is bothering all of you is how this game is being played right now. You all came from a different aspect, a very long ago campaign, most of you. The players that were brought into this very current hard one were brought in so late, even though Jenna was playing much deeper in the campaign. Cascade came in so late, it was like it's an afterthought to a lot of the aspect going on. So the character frustration is obviously there, but you guys you're getting the sense that your stories are all tying, but you're not putting, the insight would be, what is the story? What is all this level that you guys are putting into it, and what does that actually mean to your current situation, to what's actually happening in world events? Because that's what you players are not tying together
So is the question not what's the power that Silk has over Azarian, but who is Silk making Azarian to be in this new pantheon?
Maybe, but maybe I think a lot of it is focusing on Silk herself because it was brought up. The Raven Queen is something new brought into this. So
Right.
your insight is, yes, you started with Azarian. Now you talked about Silk. Now you're talking about the Raven Queen. And like I said, your insight 22 is, geez, there's Ra. Oh, this Greystoke guy who brought in Azarian is wielding Blades of Tyr. Well, what is Tyr to you? You see what I'm trying to say now?
Right.
If there are other
Yeah.
elements of explanation, then what is those dynamics? Because Azarian had to prove himself to defeat all the good guys about some people. Cascade is remembering through the timeline that gods changed. Like, there were things that changed of them. Like, if Cascade thinks about it right now, like, yeah, I remember Ra. Wait a minute, there was a Lathandar god, too. Like, he was a god of something, too, for a minute. And I've ever heard of Apollo, but there were other gods that sometimes held different positions. So she
Right.
did kind of hear Ezra, but now Nyx is in that spot. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's something going on where
Yeah.
in that part where she could get the timeline to be like,
Yeah, the pantheon is changing. Pieces are being
but that
bricks are being taken out of one wall and put into another one.
Yeah, and what you're getting is this Dread Realm is pushing up through the Garden of Gaia. You guys seem to be where it's coming through the hardest. Because that's the people you can't connect, which is why it could be important to the other Titans to know that, hey, this could be where it's pushing through, and now we have a gateway that merges the two realms together, or blows one realm up, or blows both of them up. You don't know what.
Well,
The question is, Hades had a plan. His plan's now forfeit. He's now getting the aftermath of pissing Zeus off because what he planned on doing got undone by the heroes. But now what you guys don't know is what is the agenda now. You guys solved and defeated.
Yeah,
the
but what's
first one.
next?
What is the next riddle? What is going on? That would be the importance for you guys to pick up on.
when we're talking about gateways and Nyx, Ra is telling me that Nyx is the gateway that keeps the balance of the Dread Realms. That's his role.
Right.
It's his role to keep the
So-
balance in the Dread Realm.
Of the Dread Realm. So
Right.
maybe
What does balance mean?
Yeah.
Restricting travel and holding people down?
Yes, it means building the walls that keep the realms apart.
No, it's keeping us from fighting each other or being able to travel around the island. It's not making world barriers, it's making land barriers.
Well, I know I have to say that I agree with Mr. Electo. I think he's creating the barrier. We just happen to be on the wrong side of it.
Well,
yeah, is it
I'm maybe not the
Azarian's
wrong
creating his new Dread Realm, and that Nyx is going to create the barriers, and we're just happen to be on the inside instead of the outside.
That's what I mean.
so that may not necessarily be a bad thing. Take, for example, the information, Cy, that you and Cascade received from the Archmage about the Titans and what they mean and everything like that. I have got to think that he is not the only one that knows that and can use that information to his advantage.
When you say he, you mean the Archmage, the caster of the High Storm?
Correct. Yeah.
Well,
The problem is he didn't know about any of this until I actually talked to him.
He pieced it together. I mean, okay, so was it in a book? Did he divine it? How did he come to know that? How did he come to know?
We conversed about the goings on and put two and two together, as it were. Put our intellects together to figure out what was going on, and he just used his arcane knowledge of the planes and magic to piece together these things.
Jump to a conclusion?
Basically.
So
Put a group of people on an execution list based on his gathering old information as a, 80-year-old human?
Shit. See, and here it is that I forgot. He gave me a ring. He said that one of the answers would be to banish Azarian back to his home realm, and that this ring would have a chance at doing it. But I don't know that. Sorry. But I don't know that would work because we're now in the Dread Realm. Wouldn't this be his home plane?
Maybe not yet.
But
Because he only gave it to you recently. How quickly can these events move?
he gave it to him hours ago when we were there. But my question would be, would it matter?
Sorry, note on my paper.
Yeah. My question would be, would it matter if we banished him and he went back to the original Dread Realm if there's an open door?
So, I might be just on some dumb here, but so this mage guy that gave you all this information just now, that seems questionable in that he's saying that the Cascade and her counterparts would have to be killed and all that stuff. And we also have learned today about Azarian and about how he gets these people to believe in him in high-ranking positions, even in cities that he has yet to conquer, so that everybody kind of falls in line with him and believes in him.
Exactly.
So I think
how sure can we be that this guy isn't already an agent of Azarian,
because
working from the inside?
Well, he was always a supporter of your father.
He was always
a supporter of your father and a supporter of Hades.
Known asshole. My father and Hades.
Hades, the one that imprisons Silk.
Yes.
The one,
Yes.
Silk, the one that holds Azarian's puppet strings.
And my father, the one who sent us to hell.
Slow down. This actually works a little bit back to our favor. He's a supporter of Hades. He doesn't want Hades unseated, so his goal would be to protect the gods we know and to fight against the interlopers, including Silk. So he doesn't want Silk to have power.
Right.
He
Perhaps
just
he
wants
Azarian to have power.
He wants a scumbag human god to have power.
He wants Hades to have the power Hades has always had. He doesn't want Hades to lose Hades' power. That's where his loyalty had lied, and that's where he worked with your father on things. And that's why you haven't gotten a whole lot of...
I'm not sure that would be enough to rule him out as innocent and
Your Majesty,
on the right side.
summon him and question him directly. He's one of your servants.
I think the key here is I'm pretty confident he was probably complicit in the plots that sent us to hell in the first place. He's not someone who ever... I mean, Ben, you should tell Jake what he knows about him, I guess.
You just know he was your father's, close advisor. Like, he was the...
But he hasn't been
He's the arcane mage. He would be the high mage. If Cy is right, makes sense, he probably had quite a bit to do with sending all of you guys to hell.
What was his... What did he do when we came back then? When I came back? Did he kind of... Yeah, he didn't.
The Court of the Azure Court, if you see, is not attached to the castle.
So he could very well rather have Azarian in control of the city than me.
The court is in the center right there. So just by operating on that, he just let you, things kind of happened. You took control. You were angry and fiery, and this is the castle part where you guys live. So he just avoided you, and it wasn't questioned. You didn't go on an investigation of who and how. You were pretty sure that it was your father, and you punished accordingly.
Another thought, in case y'all may have forgotten, didn't somebody tell us that Ares and Aphrodite was working with Azarian? They saw them with him or something? I can't remember who that was.
Okay,
so
Ares already... that you talk about history, again, because of your roles earlier from part of it, when you think about betrayal, Ares and Aphrodite are part of the other pantheon. They're part of the current Alana's pantheon.
But he also had Apollo there.
That's what it was. It was Apollo.
And
Yes.
at New
So Azarian is known to work with the I guess old gods. I don't know what we're calling
Well,
them.
this could be a matter of him just securing as much power as he can from those gods that he could convince to be by his side. I mean, he's a general, so Ares, of course, would be happy to go with him. Aphrodite, there's got to be some other story there. Apollo, I don't know how he would convince the god of the sun to ally with him. That seems counterintuitive.
From what we've heard, he
can do that.
Charismatic, yeah.
So, Your Majesty, call this mage before the throne and crown of Kylos and ask him.
Josh, as you're thinking, just in case, because I know there's been kind of some around.
So I had to step out to the restroom.
Yeah, I know. I want to make sure that because I think this is because we've been talking. We talked about the other gods, right?
Yeah.
2 more gods just got added to the old Alana's name.
Apollo and Ares, right?
And Aphrodite. No.
Okay.
Apollo was cited to be with this other 2 gods.
He was the gigantic titan that was
at New Greyheim. Remember we
and
talked
Ares
about
and Aphrodite. Yeah.
Remember when I told you about betrayal? It wasn't between the things I was talking about. Start putting the pantheons together.
Right.
What is happening? God War.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't know?
Who would know about the god
Take the word betrayal. Put the people in line where they are at. You don't know. You know of your gods. They don't know about old gods, right? So who also wouldn't know would be in almost the same boat as you guys if they weren't paying attention to where the battle lines are going.
Anyone that is from the other plane, right? So anyone that that believes in anybody whose reality is the other pantheon is the new pantheon.
Azarian.
They're in the same situation.
Raven Queen, Silk,
right?
Tyr, Ra, who's a sun god, Ares, and Aphrodite. They're in 2 pantheons.
Well, we wouldn't know that they're in the Alana's pantheon.
Yes, you do.
Because they have to be. Like, if they're not in this one, they have to be in the other one. Yeah.
It would be part of the history it's following it through. So
I mean, unless we have a third pantheon at play, which means that we're all bent anyway. But anybody who's basically not of this reality, by definition, must be of the other one. Right?
Well, this is what I'm saying is strange.
Yeah.
This is the first time out of your understanding, because every god I've told you about in those first 5, you've never heard of.
Right.
That would be elective, never heard of. Now I just told you 2 gods that you have heard of.
Right.
Are now being said that, hey, they're coming from her pantheon. This Alana's godhood. You are in a god war.
Wait, right. So they're old gods. They're Kylosian gods.
But
is the betrayal that they're stepping away from their father? Zeus?
And who would be in the most danger right now?
Which means that the people going to Olympus.
Oh, right.
Yep. Because basically, in that crew, the only path to promotion is assassination.
All right.
Think about it.
As you think, I'm going to go to Ronaldus.
All right. While you do that, I'm going to step up to
Ronaldus.
The poor guy's been sitting there all this time, like, he's
been quite texting me happy, going like, I'm glad I'm not part of this shit.
it would be ugly.
All right, Ronaldus, you're leaving Lockett.
Yeah.
I just need a little reminder. You took some of the personal guards, right? All right, so you have 7 people, correct?
I thought it was 10. Let me...
10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I have 7 on the Saboteur team. Desire will be 8. correct? Is there somebody else?
Mm,
Did you take 2 of the honor guard people that I don't remember?
no, I think they were all regular people.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 of them.
Yep, 7. Sorry.
Nope, it's good. Well, I want to make sure we're on a good page. All right, so there's 7 of them. You have desire. I have some stand-ins. Put that down there. These are extra people. Some of the extra people that were also given to you by Lockett. So they're kind of mercenary men at the moment. They'll have a different appearance more on the set in the future, but painting other gods. So you left Lockett. We have come to the conclusion together, in our own personal thing, like note, that you noticed that Desire had put a lot of extra room on the contract with the city of Lockett. And you now know as a soldier, not often people of the soldier background would waste that much space or be sloppy with that without making something a little bit more tighter. But you have not confronted.
Oh, yeah.
So you're on the road now. Are you going to Kylos? Was that the next stop to go at?
If Lockett insists on sending men with us,
They're not going to insist. If you just want to, like, hey, send these men to Kylos, they can do that instead.
yeah, I would. That was my intention, because
Okay.
we were going. I wasn't even really expecting that we were going to do the full treaty and everything.
Yep.
And then the king was like, "Oh yeah, we'll meet. Let's talk treaty." And like,
Yeah, he's
Okay,
definitely
you got a
nervous
treaty.
about Azarian, so you definitely get that part of it. So he'll send troops there then.
okay, so that is my intention. I will continue with the plan, which was to have the captain of the ship have some sort of emergency on the way back.
Yep.
Where we have to put in somewheres to make repairs.
Yep.
And while we were doing that, me and the men and Desire would set up a perimeter kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we would get lost in the fog.
Okay.
At which point the captain would realize that they needed to
go on with that.
to go.
Okay.
They needed to get out of there and return to Kylos with the treaty.
That farce and that stuff is easy enough for you to do. All right, so you're going to travel. Are you going to go check out Hollowdale, or are you going to go to Kylos? I mean, New Greyheim.
We were more along the north side of the island is what I was looking at heading towards.
You want to wrap around?
Yeah, I was thinking. Let me see if I can pull up the map now, which I probably should have done before.
That would put you in danger of Ashenport if you were to try that aspect.
Yeah, I'm looking. So we're on Lockett, which is like the far western corner.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So I'm thinking like we come south of Lockett a little bit, put in, and somewhere around where that lake is. Somewhere's around equal where that lake is, just south of Lockett.
Okay.
Move north, and probably come along the north shore of the island of the lake, along the north side of that, and look into what we're seeing. Start off with scouting information.
Okay.
And try to learn what there is that the enemy that Azarian's forces are doing.
Okay.
And then look for targets of opportunity.
Give me a perception check.
All right. Perception. 13.
Ashenport does not look like it's suffering as Hollowdale is. Like, it looks like its navy is kind of getting rebuilt up, and it looks like it's just making sure that nothing can come down that river channel underneath the bridge to New Greyheim. Like, it seems like it's definitely being more turned into a military state again. But it's not definitely being razzed.
Yep.
You could do some more damage in there, but you're not sure. There could be pockets of resistance in there. You could do more damage to the resistance people or members of the Old Kingdom if you were to go in that avenue, and you're not really a spy team, you're of a saboteur team, so it may be more easier to head more again closer to New Greyheim or the bridge. But again, destroying the bridge may not be a whole big deal either, because it's a huge fucking bridge.
Might have ways of dealing with that, but it would take a great deal of effort, and I'm not entirely sure.
It just wouldn't solve anything, because you just don't. The bridge goes up out of the Garden of Gaia, and there doesn't seem to be any resources coming towards Kylos or
I'm less interested in the bridge, because it's there's cities up there, but right now we're more focused on dealing with New Greyheim, so probably going to be more towards heading in that direction. Again, scouting out, watch over the bridge as we're traveling through that area.
Okay.
Try to see if there's any notable travel over the bridge.
All right, I need you to do one more. I need you to do an investigation check, and then followed by a nature check.
All right, so investigation. 15.
Okay.
And you said nature?
Correct.
Oh, 8.
Okay. So you are at least getting the aspects of this is becoming sort of war-torn country. Like, there are larger, there are roads, but there also seems to be larger paths, maybe done by both sides of troops from Old Astapor and New Greyheim's forces moving in and out. So you're picking up armies, units moving about that are not just ranger units or saboteur teams like yourself. So it is starting to affect. There are farmhouses that have been you're finding that are raised. A couple of fishing vessels that would be sunk across the river. Anything that might be extra resources that might be able to feed troops or stuff like that, sort of being kind of picked apart around the land.
Okay.
You don't pick up anything more of the land itself, except there is beginning to seem a little less sunlight. There is much more fog, like the dampness of the Garden of Gaia is starting to happen, and that is odd. You've never seen that in Gaia before. It's always been a very lush, vibrant forest, but there seem to be a weirder tone to it, but nothing drastic or something of huge concern at that point right now.
Okay.
And
do I get a sense that there is still forces opposing Azarian moving through the area?
yes.
Okay.
Like, you feel like you're not sure. You feel Hollowdale's probably conquered, because from what all looks in, it must have got hammered. That was told you for an initial reports. Astrapia, or now Ashenfort, which you're getting, is now, it definitely looks like an occupied city. That was what deterred you from saboteuring anything there.
Yep.
So, it looks like he needs resources there. He wants to build it up, because Lockett is not a city he can easily trifle with. It is huge.
Okay. Can I get any sense of what the military forces opposing Azarian are doing? I'm not going to have a large sample of their forces, but is this larger units, full-on military detachments?
No. Lockett is mobilizing because you made the treaty.
Yep.
Sunghope is probably doing the same, but it's not a great city. Astroport, you think, must have pocket resistances. So you're talking, I mean, it could be battalions of people, but they're broken up. Their family was slaughtered.
Yep.
So in your world of the Garden of Gaia, it is now who can you actually bleed for, because someone is going to have to come up. They have to kind of establish a name. One of the houses got to put their heads on the line to be like, I'm going to save Astrapi from New Greyheim. And well, the way things of that happen, and again, you hadn't got into the city to kind of investigate fully, but you remember Captain Throkel talking about a little bit of it. Like, there's some type of elite units that did some nasty business. And
Oh yeah, no, I've seen them in action.
Right. So if that's some of the things kind of going on, you're talking some little guerrilla war stuff, which is what you signed yourself up for with this team.
Yep. Okay, I was not aware that there was still guerrilla warfare going on.
Yeah, that's what you came out in the field for there, Captain.
Yep. That's what I was coming out here to start doing, but since it's already going, if possible, I'm going to try to, I don't want to say hook up with any of them, but work in a way. They're going to know the area. They're going to know the targets. They're going to know what to go after. So at some point, I'm going to try to make contact with some of the Azureport forces.
Do you want to still go to Kylos, or you're not going to Kylos? You're going to try to work in Ashenfort?
At this point, Hollowdale is more or less between us.
Yeah.
And I don't have any information on what's going on there.
Yeah. But your team would also tell you that having the intel in Ashenfort right now is probably is more vital than trying to do something right now, because you're not going to be connected. Okay. If you don't go to Kylos and then kind of come back, you're going to be the most disconnected member of the High Court.
Okay, so if I'd like to get word to the fighters that are opposing at Zarian that help is coming. Laka and Kylos will stand with them are mustering their forces. Is what I'm going to try.
Desire can stay. She'll take the two girls, Natalie and Margarita, and stay behind and start forming resistance with
them. All right. You go ahead, meet up with them, bring the message that we are the cities of Laka and Kylos are mustering their forces and preparing to face off against Azarian.
Okay.
Against this threat. And then I will take the men and work on returning to Kylos.
Okay, so not go to New Greyheim?
I mean, no.
Okay. I didn't know if you want to do any more scouting just to see where they were at.
I mean, if I get a sense that we can pass nearby and get a better sense of what troops are moving around and what's going on.
Nobody knows you're in the area. You're well-trained team.
Okay.
You feel you could get eyes if you don't do anything. Like,
okay.
If you go and blow something up, that's a different story.
Okay. Then I will go ahead and send Desire and the two women to find the remnants of the Azureport military.
Okay.
Start coordinating with them, let them know that we're working, and I will take the men. We will head towards New Greyheim, and see what we can uncover, what we can gain for information.
All right.
and I think I'm probably fairly familiar with the river between New Greyheim and Kylos.
Yes.
So I'm going to effectively at some point try and get a fisherman's boat or some. I mean, it's like a 10 or 12-foot boat that can carry me and the men. Because there's what?
We'll come back to you in a moment.
5 or 6 of them.
All right, back to the Kylos High Court. You guys have been still thick and heavy about things going on as the hours are passing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of sat down to take a couple deep breaths.
Yeah, dinner was served, kind of like you guys are in contemplation, but I was pretty much leaving to you where, like, you now identified 2 of your old gods that are being linked to the pantheon of Alanis. And I was giving it to Electo the fact that 3 gods have been seen in New Graham.
1 from Alanis and 2 from...
No, Ares, Aphrodite, and Apollo are in New Graham.
Okay, yeah. That's right.
So he's making allies in the coming god rise.
Or gods are jumping ship and joining a new, who they think is going to be the winner. Or to maybe get better, I don't know, better standing in the hierarchy. I don't know. I'm not a...
Are any of you proficient in religion? You have to be proficient in the
bitter.
religion.
I'm going to make a comment based on my bitterness. Zeus, all our gods are detached. Zeus rules his kids with an iron fist, manipulates his priests, manipulates humanity. Maybe they're looking to get up from under his iron fist and start anew.
Better prospects under a new regime.
That's part of what I was saying, that the only way under these gods that a prince steps up is the king dies or the prince takes him out. So if those gods are looking for any kind of advancement, that's the only way that would come about. Unless they're happy with their role.
Side against their father.
Which is pretty much a cultural norm.
Yeah, sometimes dads can be dicks.
Yep.
So your father tried to have you killed to prevent you from doing what ultimately happened, which is the same thing that happened with Zeus and the Titans. And I'm pretty certain that is not an accident in naming.
So Electo throughout dinner was just sort of picking at his meat, thinking, shut up.
That's rude.
Picking at his steak, at his beef.
Do that in another room.
Yeah. Just kind of thinking, and just, I can't help but I cannot drop the thought of what you were told, Cy and Cascade, and what Castor's connection to this may be.
What is your thought? I mean, I don't disagree, but I don't know where to take it.
So, what if, and Throwkill, I think you were the one that said this, and if not, then kudos to you, and I apologize to the one who I'm stealing credit from, but if his intention is to pit us against, to weaken the thing that can weaken Azarian, to distract us on that front of the war, to use us in the way that Cascade is allegedly being used by Silk as a pawn. How does he benefit from that? Do we have a traitor on the inside?
Probably just in the way that old men that are stuck in the past hold to that and try to defend their ideals. We've also received some insight into how gods work and the worship of them and how that brings them power. Having Titans on this side helps Silk reach over to this side.
Sure.
And also, to go along with that, gods gain power by getting new worshippers. They lose power by having those worshippers killed, calm down, and they also lose power by having those worshippers swear them off. So I think that probably, this is not something I'm requesting or even suggesting, but probably it would be possible for the Titans to rebuke or renunciate the blessing that they were given to end that connection. Doesn't necessarily need to be an execution like the old fart said.
I was able to refuse it, as were others.
Yes, you refused it at the time that it was offered, but I also think that it might be something that somebody could walk away from. If it's essentially... So, you're not a cleric of Silk, right, Cascade?
What is this gift, Cascade? Like,
I don't think I'm a cleric of anything.
It sounds like she's not sure.
well,
So-
she hasn't been asked, and she has not answered.
True.
Was it a token or a weapon?
No, it was more of an ability.
The ability to do what?
Ben, would I have a clue as to what I turned down?
Nope.
Ben, do I have an understanding of what it is?
Yep.
Okay.
You're superhuman.
Who was the yes for?
To you,
Huh?
it is. To you, it's almost everything being Captain America.
Right. Well, I can attack more during a battle. Or I can. How do I say this without reading it?
I think the best way to put it
You
is
can
you're
say
more
one word,
effective about-
a one line to him, and he might get tickled by it. If you can tell him you're just going to be legendary about things.
Yeah, I'll put it that way.
Nice. Well done. Appreciate the branding, Ben.
You're welcome.
So it's
I will say
not. Oh,
I will say she can do an example to you just by kind of like quickly moving around the room, where she's able to kind of come up and touch you, Electo, and as Cy stands up, she's almost able to like reposition in a different spot. You've seen that in a vampiric way.
Yep.
Thing. So you're,
and
like
I mean, there are spells that do that also. Yeah.
But it
Similar.
defines a player character having legendary actions.
Yeah.
Mechanic wise for folks that are watching.
Okay.
Josh, we turned it down. I mean, geez. Too bad we played our characters.
Right? Oh yeah. Oh, Josh thought long and hard about that. That was never a choice for Androsius. He was.
Same.
Yeah.
Mr. Cy, with everything going on with the older gods, I guess I should say, Poseidon preserve me. Do you think that our friend that's going to Olympus is walking into a trap?
She's not walking into a trap. She's gonna get smited by thinking about other games. By Goose as soon as she shows up. I don't. It's a fool's quest. It's a noble quest, but it's a fool's quest. His son's been killed by her patron. That's a 2-minute conversation if there's ever one. It's not a trap. It's a suicide.
Yeah, and asking the god of thunderbolts to not be mad.
Mm-hmm.
I respect her choice. She wants to go to plead with Zeus to avoid a god war, to keep the war from happening.
Yeah, but what power does Zeus have here to even influence that?
Zeus is the primary god here, so he's the one.
Sure. Yes, but
he's the one being. Well, I think she's asking for a peaceful solution versus a war.
right, but
Please don't fight the other gods.
no. But I we keep talking about all the other gods. Do we even know that Zeus is involving himself in this, or is this like we've heard about his children switching sides? Is this happening outside his purview somehow?
It's possible it's outside his view somehow. Maybe he's too aloof. We know he's a arrogant father, an absentee god.
So
Killian
his father
is one of those.
Zeus's father attempted to kill him by eating him. And then Zeus got his dad back by castrating his dad, cutting his head off, and then throwing him into the deepest pit of hell. So I'm pretty certain that when his kids move against him, he is going to be the absolute paragon of restraint and peaceful reaction.
Agreed. Yep.
I might add that Zeus is highly favored at Kylos.
Right. So
Your royal guard pretty much honor themselves of his aspects.
So how is this happening?
So
How is this happening without him knowing?
It's probably not. He's probably gathering his forces and commanding his children and positioning them. This is only a couple weeks. This is like a blink of an eye for a god.
So if Kylos is known for being kind of a Zeus city, then it's probably be a real good place for the old gods that have switched sides to want to destroy. As a nice little extra FU to dead.
Or convert. Converting would do well too.
Because if everybody stops worshiping Zeus, the less people that worship Zeus, the less power theoretically he might have.
Theoretically.
And what does that get us?
Less power opposing the people we're opposing.
But don't we want more power opposing the people we're opposing?
Yeah, so we don't want them to stop people worshiping Zeus.
Right.
What are we worried about here? Azarian or the God War? The God War is outside of our scale to manipulate.
And yet Azarian is wielding it somehow. Or it is being wielded against him, probably.
I feel more like it sounds like he's playing the tides of it. He's seeing it happening and doing what Cascade described, in that he's making allies, making friends, getting people to work together.
Right, and we're not going to be able to move against him directly head to head. That's how he sets things up. We can't go strength to strength, head to head against him. He has his plans all set up and his allies in place beforehand. So, I believe my original idea was to attempt to move around behind him, beside him, whatever, to get at the strings, the levers that move him, rather than pushing him back directly, to pull the strings, push the levers that he responds to, which was part of the discussion of Silk is what he responds to.
All right.
And then it's how to deal with Silk, finding out that we have a connection or some sort of greater access than the common people to this foreign god that might be able to work that from some angle. We don't know. Nobody seems to know that. But that's how we got around to dealing with the gods, because the gods are greater than us. The gods give us power, but at the same time, the gods respond to the number of worshippers. So there's a feedback cycle, a circle there. We respond to them, they respond to us. And we may need to go deeper than just going out into the field and shooting at other bombs. We might have to work higher at trying to negotiate with gods for whatever that's worth.
Negotiate with gods. They only want to manipulate us for their own power. How do we negotiate with a god? Or do we take advantage of the fact that they're all threatened? I don't understand.
I mean, could it be as simple as going to New Greyheim and reconsecrating those temples to Silk and the Raven Queen back to the gods that they should be consecrated to?
How do we do that inside New Greyheim?
We've already learned that anybody associated with Azarian loves this guy. So it would be we'd meet high resistance doing anything there, much less just getting there.
Well,
I mean, that'd be the problem as well.
But he's not aligned with Silk, and he's not aligned with the Raven Queen. So those churches that are rising there...
But didn't Ben tell us earlier that even temples to gods, like a sun god, those people are still like, yeah, Azarian.
Sure, but Silk's the exception.
Well, that was old history. Like, that's not all happening in New Greyheim. In New Greyheim, there have actually been some of the gods' temples been razed.
Right.
But so the ones he didn't
who would do stuff like that?
I know. The ones he didn't razed, I'm giving you could speculate that he's twisted. Like, those ones that are basically standing would be gods that seem to have some type of favor in his intentions.
So are we suggesting we need to make allies with gods as well? Like, actually have them?
We know that gods can be negotiated with because Azarian has done it.
King has actually done it.
Cascade, you seem like you have swallowed a canary.
I've not heard that term, a phrase before.
She does like to be a cat, so.
You don't know that. You don't.
Please don't get lost in the tunnels of the idiom and speak.
Everybody keeps saying that maybe, that y'all, that I can talk to Silk. I can talk to, all I know for a fact right now is I can talk to Silk the same as I'm talking to you. You may or may not listen to me. I don't know if I can even contact her. All I can do is try. But if I try, I can try, but I don't know what y'all want me to say.
I'm not sure, but you can talk to her more effectively than I can, so that gives you a leg up.
How do you know? I don't even know.
Exactly.
Because I've never met her and I haven't gotten a blessing from her. She doesn't regard me the same way she regards you.
I just happen to be there. I don't know that she regards me at all.
But you don't know because you haven't tried yet.
All I'm trying to say, and I understand that, Your Highness, Sir.
I think we're at the stage of doesn't hurt to try.
And I'm not saying I won't. I'm happy to try. I just don't. I'm happy to try. Again, I just don't know if y'all want me to say something specific or not say something specific.
I think you need to follow your heart. I don't think any of us can tell you what to do here. I don't think any of us know really what we want to do even.
Cascade, do you believe that line? You need to follow your heart.
Do I believe that line?
Yes.
Yes.
Roll me a d20, please.
13.
Okay.
You half-heartedly believe it.
Jake's new to Alanis too. So, do we? So, Killian, you've made a new friend out of one of the new gods.
I don't know if we're on those terms yet, but yes.
Would you say that Ra has been more receptive to you than Athena ever was?
Well, he has responded, which was a big improvement. I have proof he exists.
So maybe we decide who amongst the gods we should ask to join us. Even if it is one of Zeus's children. Zeus himself. Like, hey, these gods are talking to us. Do you want us with them? Do you want us with you?
Yeah, whatever ones we can get to respond, because it seems like maybe the leg up that the gods that are in the other camp have is the best ability is availability, and they're actually present, doing things.
So is there anyone who's willing to go to a temple of one of these gods and
I mean, I could pray to Ra and see if he has any suggestions of anybody or how much he's willing to do. I'm not sure about any other.
What if we went
Any
to a
other
temple
god?
of Nyx?
well, we don't have any temples of Nyx yet. Nyx is new. We have met Nyx. We could probably try to call upon Nyx. We know Nyx is in the area. But Nyx didn't seem all that forthcoming with his information. Or her information. Ben, is Nyx a male or female aspect?
Binary, I guess. Whatever
Not
it is.
okay. So Nyx wasn't very forthcoming in their information. But we could try that too. Just know that we're going to get manipulated one way or the other. We're not going to get what we want.
Well, what do we want?
If what we want is to not be stomped flat, then we may be able to pull something off.
I would settle for that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the not getting stomped flat.
It's a good start.
All right. As
So,
we think,
old gods or new then? Do we give the old gods a chance, and then when they don't reply as we expect them to, hope that the new gods can hear us? Or ask Nyx who they will allow into the realm, out of the realm?
as you contemplate more on that, we head back to Ronaldus. You've been moving throughout the days, and you've gotten close to New Greyheim. As you're getting there, you start to see a lot of troops moving about. There definitely seems to be a battle plan in motion with all this. As you're sneaking about, moving through the forest, going through the stealth, you're able to notice very easily 3 enormously large people standing probably a mile and a half or so outside the city walls. You hear this?
Okay.
Aphrodite, what is going on down here? I'm already sensing a change in the magic, in the air, in the pulse of this land. You have been down here with Ares. I want to know. Zeus needs to know. What are you playing at? Aphrodite goes, everything has been happening. Apollo, you've just been so basking in your own glory of your divinity. But you should have been paying attention. Your own children have caused this magnificent ripple to happen in Spero that we have been longing for. My children have nothing to do with this disgust that is happening in the most beautiful land of Spero. Again, basking on yourself, Apollo. I am not really that surprised you don't understand how things have been happening underneath your nose. Just like with Father, he just waited too long. I don't care about your riddles, wench. You will tell me what is going on. I will take care of this nastiness here myself. What you're playing at with these armies and destroying what I've seen with the undead, I will not stand for it, and you know Father will not as well. Brother, we know. That's why we had you come down here. We couldn't wait anymore. He looks perplexed. Ronaldus, you see a very large red shape moving up, the more greater form of what is cloaked of the men that are around him. And then the blade flashes very quickly, rapering into the back of Apollos, and in his back through his chest, his heart exploding out from the weapon. He gasps. Aphrodite then also raises a dagger, flashing out of nowhere, slicing into the top of his throat, up into his head. He's looking at the betrayal as Ares again slashes down to his legs, bringing him to his knees. You are seeing two gods butcher the sun god before you. Ares looks down and goes, I am sorry, brother, but there needed to be sacrifices. And as you know, we come from the old gods. This is our way. This sets the path for things to come. But you must understand, I need war. And I need lands to come for me to have war. And the powers are coming. Things are happening as we need them. Too bad you can't come, but your replacement is already here. We cannot wait to see him again. And you just see energy dissipate out of Apollo. He just turns to a husk, just like pleading as of why. And in fear of being discovered, you quickly realize that the soldiers that you actually noticed to be the Queen's elite guard who are patrolling on the area, that you need to flee. I need you to make a stealth check, please.
All right.
Feats don't fail me now.
Oh. That's the beauty of it.
As you are sneaking out, you absolutely know that Aphrodite sees you. Like watching little mice run into the field. That is how you feel. And
Okay.
That,
11.
and with that,
I got 11 because I'm wearing plate armor.
oh shit. Yeah, you absolutely are sure.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have any question that the gods, if they're looking to see who's around, the gods will see who's around.
And from there, we will end tonight's session.
balls.
Well, Zeus is going to be pissed.
Josh,
That's 2 kids
I
down.
need you to give me a date, which cannot be. I think
Yeah, what are my
St.
options?
Patrick's Day. That's the 17th. But I believe we're open for either the 24th or the 31st.
Either of those is fine with me.
Let's do.
If you don't mind.
Well, go ahead.
So 31st is Easter. I don't care, but you guys might.
My
Yeah.
kids are old enough. Jacob, is that good or better?
It's 24th better.
Let's do
Usually
24th.
have to go to.
All right, so 24th,
Bill's
we will come
mom.
back to the garden,
All right.
to our War of the Garden.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, guys. Very heavy
I
session.
know.
Appreciate you all. I know sometimes we
Well,
don't
I thought
see
you were
much
gonna kill us
combat, but that was very heavy. And a lot of lore.
Hey, I still love you, Josh.
I will drill into your head and extract the secrets if I must.
I feel left out now.
Well, okay. You weren't anywhere near as threatening as Joshua.
True.
I worked really hard at that, and you still treated me like him.
I will put a spigot in your temple and drain the truth from you.
Well, we are going to sign off. Thank you very much. So we will see you March 24th to find out now how deep this stuff is going. We've seen another god die. Number 2 has fallen. And we'll see you then.
Yeah. Wait, if Rock comes out, am I a bad guy now?